Welcome to Robotics and Automation News webinars, where you can be part of a global event without leaving your home or office. Attend our live webinars and communicate directly with influential professionals in your industry.
Hello, my name is Abdul Muntakim. I'm editor of Robotics and Automation News.com. In this interview, I speak to Mike Franz, founder and CEO of Manufacturing Power. Manufacturing Power is a provider of software that enables manufacturers to make significant cost savings in their operations, as Mike explains.
My name is Mike Franz. I'm the founder and CEO of Manufacturing Power, and we are a data analytics company focused on small to mid-sized manufacturing companies, helping them uncover cost savings in their industrial supply and MRO spend.
You're going to show us a video explaining about your company?
Absolutely. Here's a brief explainer video that gives an overview of what we do.
Everyone hates paying too much, especially when someone else is paying less for the same exact thing. In manufacturing, distributors often charge different prices to different people, but you have the power to stop yourself from paying higher prices. ManufacturingPower.com is a community of small manufacturers who anonymously share what they're paying for parts and supplies. This way, others can know whether they're paying too much and negotiate with the supplier for lower prices. Imagine being able to enter a part number into an easy-to-use tool and get instant access to the price other similar manufacturing companies are paying for the same exact part. This could impact your bottom line. And rest assured, we use the highest level of security to make sure that your data remains completely anonymous. No one knows who is reporting what information. You get confidential, reliable data from companies just like yours by size and location. That's the power of group data. Want to make an instant impact on your bottom line? Don't pay too much for your parts and supplies. Negotiate lower pricing from your suppliers with help from ManufacturingPower.com.
Okay, Mike, thank you very much for sharing that video with us. If you don't mind, can I ask you a few questions about your company?
Absolutely, please do.
Okay, so just to elaborate on what the brief video explained, and also looking at your website as well, you talk about helping companies, small to mid-sized companies as well, you mentioned, streamline and achieve real-time visibility into their industrial supply spend, collaborate better with suppliers, mitigate risk, and realize cost savings. Can you elaborate on that and perhaps give one or two examples, maybe without naming names if confidentiality prevents you doing so, of the kind of activities that your customers or companies that you work with engage in?
Sure. And thank you for asking. Thanks for having me as well. I really appreciate it, Abdul.
That's great. Our pleasure.
Yeah, so with Manufacturing Power, the idea is that we collect invoice information from our customer base. We anonymize that information and we broadcast that across our network, our company network and community. The idea there is that our customers have the visibility to see exactly what the market pricing or what the market bears for those items. And we're focused on, like you said and mentioned, small to mid-sized manufacturing companies and their industrial supply spend. So everything that they use to support their facility, we consider industrial or MRO supplies, maintenance, repair, and operational supplies. It tends to be an overlooked area most times, which really, with the power of data collection, data analytics, we're able to identify cost savings for these types of companies. Oftentimes resources aren't spent looking at these particular items, and we take care of that for them.
And how long has your business been operation. Give us a bit of background about the business. I'm looking at your about page now, and I can see that you've got 5 key people in there, including yourself, of course, and you talk about your story, and I'll go into it in a minute, but I can't see where it says when you were established, and I haven't read it fully yet, but give us a bit of background about your company, please.
Sure. Yeah, so I was with a Fortune 100 company prior to having this idea about 5 years ago, and established manufacturing power. Started building the idea about 4 years ago, and we've become a company about 3 years ago. So the idea has grown and morphed. We've got a customer base. We've got great folks that work with us, but the idea was really based on my personal experience of selling these types of items, managing, being a materials manager, being responsible for purchasing these items, and also working with distribution and OEMs alike to procure and sell the product. So I've seen it from all different angles, and it really became a noticeable problem, and thought that we could develop a solution. So here we are.
Right, and I'm looking at your pricing page, and I mean, I'm not a manufacturer. I don't really know that much about manufacturing to the depth that you do, obviously, and obviously I'm sure a lot of people do as well, especially our readers. But could you explain a couple of these things where you've got an option where somebody can choose a free power potential report? Let's start with that first. What does that give you if you ask for one of those?
Sure. So oftentimes companies will submit data to us, and we ask for particular data. A lot of times we'll focus on a particular subcategory within MRO or industrial supply spend that impacts their business the most. For example, if a manufacturer goes through quite a bit of tooling and has a large expense or spend attached to that, we'll focus on a particular category. So say tooling. We'll look at, they'll submit a list of part numbers, and we'll run them through our software to identify cost savings opportunities, and we'll provide them a free analysis of their top 6 part numbers, just to give them an idea of what the success rate would look like with us. And oftentimes we'll identify a large percentage of savings initially just off that free analysis. Now, moving forward and going into actually becoming a member of Manufacturing Power, we not only look at those specific categories, but we go across the board in their supply spend and identify all of that out, typically finding 11 to 14% cost savings across the board. So as far as an ROI, for us, we typically find that within the first, I will say, from a time perspective, it's usually within a month that we identify at least $5,000 worth of savings, and then grow from there based on the amount of data that is presented back to us or uploaded to us.
That is very impressive, and obviously that would make it worthwhile to subscribe to this sort of service. Is it an ongoing sort of service, like they call, what's that term, software as a service? Is it a bit like that, the subscription service?
Yes, so exactly that. So software as a service, and we have it on an annual payment. And the idea there, Abdul, is that we want to show consistent benefit to our customers and ROI as they add more part numbers into our system. So, and pricing is consistently changing as people join our network or our our community of manufacturers, somebody's always getting a better price on something. And really, when we expose that, gives our customers the power to go back and negotiate better deals with their suppliers and distributor partners.
Right, and obviously your customers or potential customers need to have a certain level of turnover and activity in order to make $5,000, spending $5,000 worthwhile. The ROI, as impressive as it is, I mean, you know, it needs to be a certain size of business, I imagine. So
Absolutely.
can you give us an idea of what kind of companies you have as customers? What kind of range of turnover do they have? And, you know, a little bit about that. You said, you know, on your homepage, it says small to medium size. I always think of small businesses as very, very small, micro businesses probably. So my idea of a small business is even smaller than, you know, most people's, I guess. But you give us an idea of what your kind of companies you're dealing with.
Yeah, typically the companies, the small to mid-sized manufacturers are in our ideal customer is somewhere, and I'll give you employee count first and then typical revenue. So anywhere from 20 employees on up to, you know, 300, 400, or 500 employees is right in the range that we're focusing on. Now that can be 20 million, 10, 15, $20 million on up in revenue, where they really see an impact. And again, it does really depend on the what the actual manufacturer is producing when we're talking about some of the smaller manufacturers, because you know, if they don't have a lot of turnover or a lot of usage of these particular parts, it might not be a good fit. But what we found is there are opportunities at that smaller level, but also getting up into the $50 million revenue range and above. That's where we're noticing the biggest.
Yeah, I imagine so. That's the sort of level that kind of subscription fee would be. I wouldn't say negligible. It's still a good amount of money, but it would make a lot of sense. What interests me is that there is so much data about everything, about the parts, the prices, and so on, and all of that is, I guess, collated into your system, and then comparisons are made to get the best prices and so on. Can you tell me how you came to develop that sort of system where you're taking in a lot of this data and then, you know, enabling people to shop around or get the best deal and things like that? How did you develop that software? And what are some of the features of it?
Quite honestly, the way that it's evolved goes back a few years, because with, you know, the ability to utilize the cloud, and instead of storing data on particular servers, which gets very expensive, it really brought the cost of doing this down to a very manageable level. And so utilizing that technology for us was basically put us over the top as far as pursuing this. We're able to collect the data. We're able to utilize not only our technology, but technology that's available for everybody to use, basically, through the cloud. Gives us the ability to manage it, all of that data, at, again, a manageable cost. There's that, and then also the IP and the programming that we've developed really gives us the capability to keep it very simple for our end users. The UI, UX, or user interface and user experience is designed specifically to make or give our users the ability to quickly analyze this massive amount of data. And that was very intentional because, based off my experience, it can get out of hand very quickly. Many companies will have thousands and thousands of part numbers in this category, which is just a nuisance to manage. It's often overlooked, and there's a lot of potential by exposing some of this data, managing it for our customers, and giving them the quick and easy ability to analyze what they need to really take advantage of the data that they already have.
Right, and this market where this software is something that I'm kind of new to, but I'm wondering in terms of the manufacturing industry, the kind of customers you're dealing with. Obviously, they'll be familiar with it because they've already come to you and they're talking about it or bought your services. But what is the potential for this kind of thing in terms of, I mean, how many people, how many manufacturers as a percentage of the overall or total small and medium-sized manufacturing market use this kind of service, use this kind of software? I mean, it'd have to be a guess. I don't know. Maybe you have research, but I would imagine it's less than 50%. That's what I'm saying. So you got room to grow in terms of number of customers and percentage of the market. Or am I wrong about that?
No, you're absolutely dead on. This is an untapped market. That's one of the reasons that we decided to focus primarily on small to mid-sized manufacturers. We do have competitors that focus on large manufacturing, enterprise, tier one type of manufacturers that have the resources not only to afford it, but also to put towards it from a people perspective to manage the data, where we wanted to make a real splash and make it cost effective for these small to mid-sized folks to really have the capability that some of the best-in-class companies have. Now, that said, I can only speak to the numbers here in the US, but specifically small to mid-sized manufacturing companies across the US, there's roughly 250,000 of them. And as far as a percentage that are using a software such as ours, the numbers are very, very low. So there's a huge opportunity for us to grow.
Well, that must give you a lot of hope for the future of the business, if that's the case, and I'm sure it is. So you can, this is fairly new software. Kind of most people know that a lot of the artificial intelligence systems that are required to crunch this amount of data and come up with solutions, comparisons, and so on. It's fairly new, as you mentioned earlier about cloud computing. It's fairly newly available kind of computing power to most people. So, yeah, I imagine that's going to grow, and small businesses might be surprised that they can avail themselves of this kind of service. So that's another thing. So how do you see your business growing as a result of maybe these companies, more companies coming forward to subscribe to your software as a service, if you like?
Well, just to that point, if I may, the technology is out there and has been out there, and this type of software has been available for some time now. I'm not saying that it's a brand new technology. I'm just saying that exposing it to this market, small to mid-size, again, manufacturing, is something that hasn't necessarily been a focus. There are plenty of examples of not only B2B applications, but also business to consumer applications where you see the best pricing available. Any sort of travel company or hotel software that or websites that are out there that do price comparison has been around forever. We're just bringing that comparison tool to manufacturing, and which typically has been lagging behind some of the other technologies, or has been exposed to some of the other technologies that really can benefit a different side of their business. A lot of the focus for these particular companies is on the technology, and rightly so, that helps them make the best product that they can for their customers. Now, we're hoping to penetrate the front of the house that in most manufacturing shops tends to lag a little bit in their technology use. So we're looking to grow that portion of the business, and again, give them the capability that we use in our everyday lives. There's a few examples here that maybe some of the listeners here can take a look at, but there's a specific example called TrueCar. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but
No, I haven't heard of it.
It very much does a similar thing to what we do, but it's for new and used cars, where it shows and identifies what other people paid for a specific car in a geographic location, which is very similar to what we do. But now we're bringing it to this particular market, and as I mentioned before, we think the market is very large. We think we have a competitive advantage going into it as far as exposing the best pricing, and we're looking forward to and always looking for new customers and looking to grow.
Yeah, that's great. I imagine, again, I don't know, and you could maybe help me out with your insights as well, but I imagine that most large companies, for most large companies, this is standard, this kind of software, this kind of approach to purchasing and controlling costs and so on is, they do this. But it's the ones that are just below that level, the medium down to small, they're maybe in the past thought that this is just beyond their reach in terms of cost, like it would just cost too much money. And maybe in the past they would have had to set it up themselves, literally from the ground up, the whole sort of software thing. But I don't know if you agree with that. Are the large companies fairly au fait with this kind of software, and they use it as standard, I suppose, across their entire operations, I think?
Yeah, there are definitely, I agree with you 100%. there's different resources that can be put toward it when you're talking about companies that are running their internal systems and such as an SAP. If their internal system is SAP, there are products that can be added on to that do similar things to what we do. And also to that point, there are third parties that come in and do similar things to what we do, but they're at a very, very high price point where it takes a lot of our customer base out of the equation. So they're focused primarily on those large tier one OEMs that have the resources to put toward it, where we see a huge opportunity in focusing on the smaller opportunities.
Right. And how does this fit in with, how does your software fit in, or how is it categorized? I mean, I'm thinking how it fits in with things like enterprise resource planning software, which is a recognized category of software, manufacturing execution systems, which is MES, and there's another one, warehouse management system. So you get these little, is it acronyms for
Sure.
types of software that people now have become kind of familiar with, and I kind of understand what they are. But how does yours come in a particular category of software, and how does it fit into the ones I just mentioned, ERP and MES and so on?
Well, we don't categorize ourselves as that, or any of those acronyms necessarily. We don't fit into any of those categories. We can be used in parallel, or as in addition. So many of the ERP systems that are out there focus primarily on historical data, excuse me, and the data that can be pulled out of that is what we utilize to build our database. And our database is made up of historical pricing information that companies use. We anonymize that and publish that back out to our community. Now, that said, I would say we're a price optimization tool. So if we want to start a new category, maybe here's our opportunity.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know if I've heard that one, price optimization. You would know, but yeah, it is quite a good time for a lot of people. So I was going to say a good time for companies like yourself, because the technology is available for you to put things together and provide a really good, powerful service to companies, because the cloud computing is available, the software can be developed, and this kind of very useful tool can be built and provided. But it's also obviously a good time for customers on the other end, because I got a feeling that smaller companies probably don't realize that this kind of, either don't realize, or they think it's beyond their reach, and it's for big companies to do this kind of thing. It's it's always seen as a very complex, expensive thing to do. So it'd be interesting to see how things develop for you. I guess your customers, because you're online mainly, they're probably from all over the world, aren't they? Or is there a geographical sort of area that you're particularly successful in, or anything?
Well, at the moment, yeah. I mean, we're primarily here in the U.S., and the Midwest region has been where we've been the most successful, only due to the fact that our sales and marketing has been so focused on that area at this point. But like you're saying, I mean, we have the capability to go anywhere, really. So that gives us even more opportunity to grow. But one thing I did want to add to, Abdul, back to one of your last comments, was about the smaller companies not necessarily being aware that this technology and this service is available. And that's really the case. Our goal is to educate the potential customers. This is now a real thing where price transparency is going across all consumer and B2B markets. So we're able to, we want to expose that to them and show them, hey, this is, you use this in your daily lives. Why not use it in your business lives as well? And we're seeing success.
That's great, Mike. I really, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for taking us through that and giving us your insights.
Thank you, Abdul. I really appreciate the time. And if anybody wants to visit our website, it's www.manufacturingpower.com, and we'd love to talk to you.
Okay, thank you. Mike, is there some, before I stop recording, is there something that you want to add that I should have asked about that you thought about and didn't get to say?
Not necessarily, other than the fact that we're a growing business. Data is the key, and we have the ability to quickly, easily show an ROI to our potential customers that they may not have been able to realize in the past. The process is very easy, and that's part of the original plan, is for us to make a very simple to use tool that provides big payback and putting money back towards the bottom line. One of the big problems here in the industry right now, for us in particular, or for manufacturers, is finding talent. And one of the things that putting capital back into the business allows our customers to do is really hire top talent, or have a more competitive rate, or be able to buy a machine that they may not have been able to purchase, just by finding some of this cost savings that we're able to expose. So our goal is really to help small to mid-sized manufacturers realize some cost savings so that they can put that money back into their business and be more competitive.
Okay, Mike, thank you very much for your time.
Send us an email at sales@roboticsandautomationnews.com to register for one of our many upcoming webinars. And if you'd like us to host your webinar, we have a range of options, including long-term lead generation packages and marketing campaigns. We look forward to hearing from you soon.